Well, if calling all engines was, boring but not bad, the Great Discovery was definitely an improvement. This definitely felt more like a special. The plot was a lot better. It was way more memorable, and those sets are just beautiful. The special was narrated by actor Pierce Brosnan. Wait a minute, Pierce Brosnan? James Bond? Oh, but yeah, again, Alec Baldwin and Ringo Starr also narrated the show, so I'll take it. So how does he do compared to the others? Well, I'll get to it in a minute. Let's look at the story first. Well, actually, a lot of stuff happens, but something like Sodor Day and Thomas discovers Great Waterton. Yeah. However, what I liked about it is that although a huge amount of events are thrown at us, the story still flows very well. Each part contributes to the story, and it never gets complicated. The story is pretty good. Not great, but still a nice one. So how is The Great Discovery? Honestly, out of all the pre-Brenner Thomas specials, I think The Great Discovery is definitely my favorite. It's definitely nowhere as near as seasons 1 through 5, and in fact, it does have a few problems. I'll start off with Pierce Brosnan as the narrator. Pierce is definitely a good actor. He's my favorite Bond. His classy, mellow Irish accent is perfect for a badass villain. But it has to be ideal casting. For example, Mamma Mia was not ideal casting. As for Thomas, well, let me put it this way. As just the narrator, he's okay. But when voicing characters, yeah, they all sound like they've got laryngitis. Some of them work, like Duncan and Gordon, but I think they should have brought the individual voices here rather than Hero of the Rails. Sorry, Pierce, but I kinda cringed at Thomas' voices here. So the new narrator is one thing. How about the new characters? Or character? Stanley is definitely one of the coolest looking engines in the series, along with Spencer, Dieselton, and Gator. As far as personality, okay. He doesn't stick out like Duncan, Duke, or Bill and Ben. He's a likable guy. I like how he's the first one to realize that Thomas isn't a dick, but just sad. I wish they did use a bit more of him in the future, considering he was a pretty big character in the special, but he seems to be coming back in newer episodes. My only problem with him is that it's never really explained why he's doing stuff like pulling Annie and Clarabelle and sitting in Thomas's shed berth. Also, while I did say he was likable, there was one point where he kinda was a dick. After Thomas has an accident, he just puffs by and saying, "Bad luck, Thomas," with a huge-ass smile on his face. I know that's a nitpick, but I thought that was a bit harsh. That's like if someone had an extremely bad accident and at the hospital you laugh and say, "Oops, that sucks, dude. Have a nice day." However, it's a really small problem compared to others. The biggest problem I had was the mine sequence. Having Thomas go in an abandoned mine is really cool. That's why I absolutely adored Put Upon Percy. But first of all, it's kind of the typical amusement park ride, which isn't bad, but still, it's just a way to get merchandise out. Second, him landing on the raft and going through that wild river is just really silly. It's not that it's unrealistic. There are some great episodes that couldn't possibly happen in real life, like Thomas and the jet engine, Rusty and the boulder, of course. I know everyone will disagree with me on that, but those were entertaining. But anyway, it was too silly for me, especially the ending where he flies through the waterfall. That scenery is beautiful, but come on. And third, how the hell was he in there for days? I'm beyond positive that would take less than a day for someone to cross the island of Sodor, let alone get through a mine shaft on a quarry. Do you really expect me to believe that while all this other stuff was happening, Thomas was riding Sodor's Splash Mountain? If it was something like the mine collapses on Thomas, that would be a lot more realistic and interesting. But this, just no. That was my main problem with the special. What else goes wrong? Well, the fact that Great Waterton hadn't been discovered earlier is pretty shocking. However, that's not a huge issue, so I'll give it a pass. So as you can see, the Great Discovery isn't perfect, but it doesn't actually have that many problems compared to others, in my opinion. So what do I like about it? I'll start off with the greatest thing from it. The message. I guess it's kinda up to interpretation, but I always saw it as you matter more than you think. Thomas gets depressed after Stanley steals all the fun, and after the accident he thinks everyone hates him. But when he does go missing, everyone is really upset. So basically, it's saying people may not always show it at times, but you are still a huge part of them, and you, yeah, I could, and that is a great message for both kids and adults, actually. In my teenage years, I could definitely relate to that. At times, I would think people just didn't give a shit, but I couldn't have been more wrong. And to be honest, it was kind of emotional in this special. Okay, not sad, but relatable. You definitely felt the pain Thomas was feeling, especially that scene where Stanley says something like, "Thomas isn't bad, he's just sad." I don't know why, but that really worked well. It just clicked. A lot of the moments were definitely warming. And you know what else was warming? The sets. These are the best sets in the post-Season 7 era. Just look how beautiful they are. Great Waterton is stunning. And even though the mine sequence is cheesy, the set itself was brilliant. Especially the shot of Thomas flying over the ravine. That was really impressive. Also, I gotta mention that the lighting is a lot like Season 4. It's just that nice, colorful feel. After Thomas and the Magic Railroad, the lighting was pretty dull. Well, I take that back. Season 6 was extremely lifeless, but Season 7 was decent. After that, it just went bleh. So dismal. That was until Season 11, where it got that warm, fuzzy glow back. Speaking of warm fuzziness, well, the other songs were pretty dull and forgettable. Well, except Where's Thomas, that was decent. But anyway, the song that always stood out to me is Thomas, You're the Leader. This is one of the best songs of not just the new era, but the TV show in general. Why? Well, because it captures all the nostalgic, warm feelings of Thomas without being too sappy like the Island song was. It's actually hard to describe why. I just love the song. The music is great, singing is great. I like how it's a mix of rap and singing. It's a unique style. I could go on about it in more detail, but I really want to keep this under 15 minutes. But anyway, what's my final verdict on The Great Discovery? I think it's great. It's definitely not perfect, but I still really enjoyed it. I'd give it an A-. This is definitely a special to check out.